situation like New Jersey just has way more to offer the people that are going to be fighting New Jersey, right? Like they got prospects, they got picks. Like who's going to compete with them? The Leafs? Come on, Leafs
Well,
aren't going to get them.
the Rangers could start a bidding war, but I mean,
I have no idea where the Leafs fit in all this. Like, do they?
Bargain basement rentals. That's it.
yeah,
That's what they're
going to be
getting.
able to. They're not going to be able to compete with the big
They're
fish.
going to get like a Nick Bonino and like some nobody defenseman.
Well, I heard they
some-
want Ivan Barbashev from
Yeah.
St. Louis. That's what I was reading.
Uh,
Oh, he's
isn't he a
then I heard-
center?
He's a center, and he's a good player. He's
it's
a
a
nice, tough guy. But,
nasty player. Yeah.
yeah, but I think he can play the wing or center. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to be a good fit for the Leafs because they're going to tell him not to hit anybody. So what's the point?
Yeah, it's true. Hi, and welcome to the show. This episode, we discuss the top of the Atlantic Division and potential playoff matchups looming for the Toronto Maple Leafs after a game versus the hated Bruins. We also discuss the huge trade out of Vancouver in which their captain was sent packing to Long Island. And lastly, we discuss some potential key deadline acquisitions for the contending teams to put their team in the driver's seat for Lord Stanley. Do the Leafs have what it takes to knock off Tampa Bay, as they seem to be on a collision course to meet up in the first round of the playoffs in a rematch of last year? Who won the Bo Horvat trade? The retooling Canucks or the fringe playoff Islanders? Will we see a lot of trades this year at the deadline for a lot of players on expiring contracts that can help a team in the short term? We're back and ready to share our views and opinions for anybody that wants to listen. So please, take a load off, relax, and welcome to Hockey for Fanatics.
Cool. So,
Nice. Hab fans?
a few of them. There's one of them's actually a Bruins fan.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
How?
I don't
Living
know,
in
but-
Montreal, huh?
Yeah. I got a headache listening about how good they are.
Oh God,
Like I can't see that already on TV.
I know. They are good though.
They are. Can't deny it.
I don't know. I still don't understand that team. I don't know how they're like. I can obviously they're doing really well, so it's hard to knock them. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but I just
Well,
I-
it's
they-
Allmark
they-
too, though, right?
yeah, sure, but guys, I mean, I know Dave was the only one who picked them to make the playoffs. Dave, I don't think you picked them to do this well, though, did you?
If I did, I'd be a rich man.
Hmm.
No way.
That's what I
No,
mean,
wait,
I think
right?
I still had them as. I still think I had them as playoffs. I wasn't sure.
No,
Mm,
you
no,
didn't.
no, you didn't.
No,
No.
really? Over
Really,
like
really?
Detroit or Ottawa? Over Boston?
I think you took Detroit.
Over Boston?
Yeah, no, all three of us didn't
Huh.
take Boston.
Dave was the only
Huh.
one who did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also took
Big credit.
Vancouver, so that washes out.
Giancarlo posted it. You took
Yeah, I took Columbus, so
you took
I mean,
Tampa,
Oh, God.
Florida, Toronto, and Detroit, Tommaso.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah, some
Giancarlo's
people bought
posting
into.
like 5-year out predictions. That's what Giancarlo's posting.
I think that was just like just a bat. Like I must have forgot about it because I remember when we were talking about it, I was trying to decide between Detroit, Ottawa, and Buffalo, and I couldn't. Like the thing I stayed away from Buffalo was the goaltending. So like it's funny why I would completely disregard Boston.
Well, Marchand was hurt, right?
Yeah,
like
they were all hurt.
McAvoy was hurt too.
Yeah,
McAvoy
but they're
was
all
hurt.
coming back.
Yeah,
Taylor Hall.
but you would have
Okay, but I
expected them
recall-
to stumble out of the gate, maybe, and then it would have been an uphill battle. Like
Yeah.
you didn't expect them to be a 900
I-
hockey club or whatever they are, right?
I don't think anyone could have expected them to be this. Like this is just
Or-
off
no
the
one
chart.
did.
Like
No,
no.
they didn't even expect
Like
it.
new
No,
coach,
they can lie.
new coach too. Like I know that I'm not saying a new coach is going to make you worse, but you never know how that's going to work, right? Like it could be like it takes a while, whatever, to get the new system or whatever. But
For sure.
yeah, these guys
I think
came
it's
out.
the last. It's that last, whatever they call it, last dance together.
Last hurrah. Yeah.
That's it. That's what they're rallying around. That Bergeron, because Bergeron apparently was not going to return this year
with the
if
coach.
Cassidy
Yeah.
was the coach.
Right.
So once Cassidy, I mean, so obviously he was okay with retiring, but it came back, did him a favor, and now it's like he's saying, guys, this is my last one, and that's it. So it's like
Don't,
they've used
don't
that
you
rally.
don't you find that interesting though? That Bergeron would be that adamant about not returning over Cassidy. Like I always thought Cassidy was like beloved in Boston. That surprises me, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
there's a
that's
lot of
right.
stuff that goes on behind closed doors. We don't know, right? Like
Exactly.
that team is a very like we've said it before, like that leadership core, it's almost like they don't need a coach. I don't want to say they don't need a coach, but they just need a coach to get out of their way a little bit, right?
They run themselves,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. They don't
Yeah,
need
for
anybody to
sure.
hold them accountable. They
No.
hold themselves accountable, right?
Have you heard Zdeno Chara interviews with? There's multiple ones out there, like Spit and Chicklets and like other podcasts he's done. If you listen to him, like I know you hate him, Mikey, but as a leader, that guy is something else. Like he would do things come like training camp that on purpose to make sure that everyone was in line. Everyone knew to like put in extra or like one of the first things he did was installed uh like a work effort at the beginning. So people came in, everyone on the team had to be in shape. They want to be the best shaped team in NHL. That was their goal. And it showed, right? Like they were constantly working hard for each other. I don't know. I never knew that side of Chara. I just thought he was just this big goof, but he's very, I don't know, he's an excellent leader.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into Chara and my feelings on Chara. We could probably do a whole podcast on him in the summertime about how much I hate him, uh, but hey, I mean, it's hard to argue. They were a well-led team when he was there, and then even after he's gone, they somehow managed to continue that. I remember thinking because I mean they're also a much different team. Like when Chara was there and Lucic was
Oh
there
yeah.
and Sean Thornton was there, like they used to beat the crap out of people, right? And it was not fun to play against the Boston Bruins. Now the league has changed a little bit, so I would say that it's I would just because I mean last year who'd they run up against? Um,
Carolina,
Rangers, no? Or was it
oh, it was
Carolina?
Carolina, right?
It
Carolina.
was one
And
or
then
the other though.
and then and
Every
then
home team, all the home teams won that
and it
that series.
and
I
if
think.
you remember, like Boston was destroyed, like physically. Like
Hmm.
Lindholm got destroyed. I think it was Svechnikov that got him. Knocked him out of the game, knocked him out of the series. Carlo, same thing. They were losing defensemen like flies, right? So that
Yeah.
physical aspect is something that they don't have anymore, the Bruins, right? They do have those guys like
Uh,
this Greer and Trent Frederick, and they'll always have those typical Bruins, but they're not the Chara-led Bruins anymore. So
they're not the big bad scary Bruins, exactly like you said. But you know what's about this team? They're very Carolina-esque. That they have four lines, they don't stop. Like every line comes at you, pressures you, pushes you with pace. Like they just outwork you every shift. There is no let up for these guys. Like I watched them last night, and a couple weeks ago I was saying to a couple of my other buddies that like what they're doing isn't sustainable. There's no way that they could keep this up all year. It's impossible, right? Like just common sense would say that. But then I watched them last night, and the way that they played, like there's no holes in their game. Nothing. Like everything. Like every line just will outwork you. Every defensive pairing is solid. And to think that they were about to get Horvat, wow. Like,
yeah, scary.
like this team is scary.
Yeah,
Like sure they haven't had any major adversity. Well, I don't know. At the beginning of the year,
yeah,
they had their
They
adversity.
started short. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know about that then. So like, if they lose a Bergeron or they lose their goalie, Allmark, I guess we can see what they're really made out of, but I don't know. I'll be honest with you. They look very, very good. Like, it really shows the difference between a real cup contender to a phony. Like, the Leafs don't even look like they're in the same league as
Yeah,
the
but
Bruins.
wasn't
They
it a
don't.
like I didn't
You
watch
know
the
what?
game, but wasn't it a close game at least, or
It wasn't.
Uh,
It really wasn't. Like, it was in terms of like score for a little bit, but the way that the Bruins were playing, it looked like men versus boys. Like, it just they decided to turn it on. Like, same thing that happened with the Leafs against Tampa in the playoff series last year. Everything's put off to the perimeter. No real threats. The goalie knew everything was going on at all times. It was a very comfortable game for Boston. And it's just, yeah, it was very impressive. Boston is the way that they play, incredible team.
one thing I'm gonna say, and it comes back to you pointed out once philosophy, right? I guarantee if you
Mhm.
put Jan Krok, whatever this way you say his name, on that team, on that
Yep.
roster, he's gonna play different.
yeah.
If you even, I bet you even if you put someone like Engvall there, he's gonna have to crash and bang, even though that's probably not his style. It's just the way it is. It's a culture
What?
thing.
Why is
You
that
brought
though,
up.
Dave? Why do you think that is? I
Players.
don't
I think
disagree
that
with you, but
starts. I
why?
think that starts at the top. I think
Okay.
it starts right at the top. You know, you got guys like Neely there that and it's been instilled in him, and before that it was Orr and whoever else was there. It's just something that's instilled in that franchise. And listen, they've all bought in. There's a reason why they are where they are. I mean, okay, no one expected them to be this far ahead of everybody, but how could you be surprised when they're a tough team to play against? Even Carolina had trouble with them last year with all the injuries too.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, it comes out to me. It's philosophy. There's a reason why you see four lines going out. Sometimes you can't tell who the first and fourth line is because, like you said, Tommaso, they're just relentless out there. That's the way they play, and that's the way you have to play in that lineup. And I have to look it up, but I guarantee you, there's not many Europeans on that team. That's another thing. How many floaters you think are on that team? Probably not many.
On Boston, I think they have a
Uh,
few. Let me see.
yeah, Pasta and Krejci, right off the top of my head, are from Europe, and then down the list,
They have a few. I mean,
Lindholm is
Uh,
European.
Thomas
They're not
Thomas
gonna have zero. They're
Thomas
not gonna have
Noshek,
zero.
Thomas Noshek too.
Hmm.
Um,
But I get what you're saying. They're leaders, they're main guys. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
I want to
like
see
that.
once Bergeron does leave, who the next guy is going to be, right? I think that's why they wanted someone like Horvat there, and who knows, maybe they go after Martin if he becomes a UFA. Otherwise, they go after someone like whether it's Larkin or something. They're going to go after someone to replace Bergeron. You already know, and the template is there. The philosophy is there. Like you have to buy into what they're selling. If you're not going to be a Bruin. Mike can
For sure.
attest to it. What
yeah,
happened with Kessel and those guys? You don't want to be a Bruin? That's fine.
it's
We'll find
true.
someone that wants to
They
be it.
they'll move an abundance of talent. They've definitely proven that over the years. They don't care if you don't play their way. You're out of there. You're out of there. One thing I noticed that was pretty funny, I noticed it on my social media feeds after the game was the episode with Bunting. With
Yeah.
who was it that did he get like butt end him or something? Like what?
So it was over exaggerated. Bunting is a joke, right? Like, he flops around all the time, and he got flipped in front of the net, and it was his own visor that cut him. And he went screaming to the bench, like just losing his mind, making a big show, and he literally like wiped his face with blood and was like yelling at the ref, like, "Look, I'm bleeding!" Like, he's just a clown.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a total clown show. Like, I know I'm supposed to be a Leaf fan, but I'm sorry, I just call it as it is. That stuff doesn't impress me. Like, I like the tough guys. Like, I remember when Darcy Tucker used to do similar stuff, but at least he backed things up. Like, Bunting's just a joke. Every time he flops everywhere, and one of the announcers said it perfectly. When you embarrass the referee, you don't think that he remembers.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're humans, right? Like, if you're embarrassing them, they're gonna remember you, and they're gonna say, okay, they see your number fall, they're gonna be like, it's that guy. They're gonna hold back on calling that play. Like, it was a perfect example is Marchand and Bunting were going up the ice. Marchand tripped him, like
Yeah.
straight out tripped him,
Yeah.
but he didn't get the call. 2-3 years ago, that's 100% call because Marchand is the opposite. Marchand had that reputation. So Marchand would have got the call based on his reputation. But Marchand has developed into a real player, so now he has more trust from the refs. Bunting, zero. He has like his reputation is garbage in the league right now, so he's not getting anything his way.
I've also
Except for
seen this.
$5 million.
I've also seen this game with Boston many times before. I know exactly how the Bruins operate, and I think there's a method to the madness. I think that a guy like Bunting is the only guy. He's going to be the Kadri on the Leafs
Yeah. Yeah. Mike,
because
you're right, Mike. You're
because
right.
because Kadri was the vocal guy. Kadri was the guy that was going to do whatever it took, but no one on the Leafs was going to fight alongside Kadri, alongside of him. And the Bruins are going to pick on that spot because they know that guy's going to blow. And that's what's going to happen with Bunting. If they play in the playoffs, mark my words, they're going to go after Bunting like crazy because this is the only guy. I'm telling you,
They
Tomas.
won't make
He
it to
won't, and he
Boston,
won't
my
fight.
friend.
And he
I know
won't fight
you're
anyway.
right. No, you're right 100%, but they won't even make it to Boston. They won't get through Tampa. That's all I'm saying. If they get to Boston, I agree 100%. They'll just pick on Bunting. Bunting will do something stupid.
Yeah,
He'll get a penalty, and it'll cost them the game.
right.
100%. You're 100% right. I know
That's
it, but
They're not a stupid team, man. They're
No,
No.
they're clever. They're clever for sure. They know the game. Like that's the way it is. You gotta
Yep.
that those are the little things that you gotta learn, right? Like it's like even in a boxing match, like no one's fighting clean out there. Someone slips an
Yeah.
elbow every now and then, right? Like that's just the way it is. That's a fight, right?
Yeah.
That's unfortunately the way it is.
Well,
So
let me ask you then. They got Montgomery as coach. This is his first year there.
yeah,
Is that his way of coaching, or is that something that he gets into that meeting room and like this is the way we want to
no,
see this team play?
no,
You know what I mean? Like there's got to be.
I think it's the players. I think you said it. I think we said it earlier. It's just that leadership core that bleeds over, right? Like whether it's Bergeron or Marchand or any of those guys, like it's like a gang mentality, and
Mhm.
they hold everybody in that room accountable. No one else in that room, like everyone's on the same page in that room. There's nobody
Exactly.
that they don't know their role,
Yeah,
right?
it's a shock that Bergeron. I know he's a smart guy. He's a very good player. 37 years old though.
Yeah,
Like no one goes after him and punishes him. Nobody.
yeah,
Nobody.
yeah.
Nobody punishes
Well, they
little
should. Yeah,
Brad
but they
Marchand.
should
Nobody.
though. They should
Marchand's
though.
not going to fight.
But
I know they
this is
should.
what I'm trying to say. Like Boston used to be the big bad Bruins, and you wouldn't want to do that because you'd be asking for trouble. But if I'm
Yeah.
building a team to beat Boston,
Yeah.
I'm playing physical against them for sure,
The
for
problem
sure.
with you're saying nobody does it, it's because
The
the
league
teams
is,
that you're watching,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like the Leafs and stuff, like they aren't goons.
yeah,
What,
yeah.
like Mike just said, the league has gone a different road. Like who's a goon these days?
Nobody.
Like
Yeah,
maybe Rangers or they play tough, right?
yeah.
I
Like
don't think you have to
Giancarlo
be
will
a
tell you that,
goon.
but
Yeah, I don't
who
think you have to be a
Oh,
who
goon,
else is
but
physical.
there?
Washington,
you
like
tell me,
Washington.
Washington does, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
problem is they got to get to Washington. I don't know. Maybe they'll get him in the first round. It's possible, but that's
What
why I wish they would play them or the Islanders, to be honest with you, because I
Islanders?
think the
Islanders
Islanders
are
would.
still tough. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if they played
Islanders will hurt
Pittsburgh,
you.
sorry, Giancarlo, if they played Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh's going nowhere.
No,
The
Pittsburgh's
Leafs or
like the
Boston?
Leafs. Sorry?
Who is he talking about? The Leafs or Boston?
No, if Boston were to get Pittsburgh first round, I don't see that being a matchup that would take anything out of them.
Boston's always had our number when it comes to playoff time, so it's hard for me to be too confident there. But
I don't know. It's again back to the original point with there aren't that many teams that bring that physical aspect anymore. So, and you've seen it change year over year, right? Like less physical players. There are still some physical players. I'm not saying because even a guy like Marchand, he's not a big dude, but he is a grimy guy out there, right? Uh,
No, but that identity, like that we always say, right? Like your team has that identity
yeah,
of being big and
not afraid,
physical.
not afraid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
remember when St. Louis won the cup?
yeah.
Like they
Oh
weren't
yeah,
like
they
goons,
went after
but they
Boston.
were,
Oh, they were toe
yeah,
to
they were
toe.
a big, strong
Oh,
team,
they were
right?
toe to toe. Those both of those teams in the final. That was a very physical final. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Vegas is a pretty like
Yeah,
I know
they're
they don't
big.
get a lot of credit, but when they played the Leafs, like holy crap, like all the defensemen are like 6'4",
Yeah, they're big
and
dudes.
they hit
Yeah.
every shift. So I was very noticeable.
Yeah, I would have said Calgary before. I don't know if that still
Hmm.
applies. Like losing Kachuk and adding Huberdeau, I don't think that's necessarily a good exchange on the physicality meter. So, um, I don't know. Yeah, either way, there aren't that many physical teams that are built with that warrior mentality anymore. And Boston has changed a little bit based on their competition, I think, right? Like they're looking at their division and they know, like they're like, okay, I gotta beat Tampa, right? They know that
Yeah.
you're not gonna you're not gonna be able to beat Tampa with a bunch of knuckleheads, right? Like you got to play hockey. So,
Hmm.
and that's really what we're gonna see. I don't
But
know.
you know what? In saying that, look what happened with Tampa is a good example. Like Tampa won the President's Trophy, and they get swept by Columbus, their first series, right?
Right, right.
So then, what do? They regroup and they bring in actual players, hard-nosed players. They bring in a Maroon, they bring in a Coleman, they bring in guys that like are tough to play against. And look at the difference, right? Then now all of a sudden they got a little more jam to their game, and they went on and went on a run, and they won their first cup, and then that's it. They just kept adding more pieces like that. Bogosian and eventually Perry, but Perry came after the Cups.
Yeah,
But still, like they got it right. Like that's the thing that really bothers me about the Leafs is after the Columbus series, Toronto organization should have
yeah,
like assessed and said, okay, this is something that is a problem with us. Let's adjust. But they didn't. They still haven't all these years. And even after watching Tampa, which is the best team in the league, do exactly that,
yeah.
why wouldn't you do that? That's the thing that confuses me the most.
They
It's
just have
stubborn.
they have their own philosophy. Like even if you look at Tampa, like before they added all of these guys, like I think they even added Cedric Paquette too. Like they had guys that were very physical players that wouldn't back down from anybody after, like you said, that series. But their core was still a skill core, right? But now I look at a guy like Kucherov, for example. He's developed an edge to his game over the years. I never thought Kucherov was that type of player, but he learned. Like he goes, this is the way it is here. Either you kill or be killed out here. That's just the way it is. And he's doing those little slimy things where he's like, I remember when he kicked Marner last year or whatever, or there was that altercation, and Marner gave him a look or whatever. But Kucherov's got a history of doing that. Who did he hit too? Aho. He took a run at
Yeah,
Aho. Yeah.
he's dirty.
Oh yeah,
He's got
man.
sneaky dirty in
Really
him.
dirty,
Yeah.
really dirty. Like Aho didn't even have the puck. He didn't even have the puck. He just
Yeah.
laid him out, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like this is a skill
I don't
player.
mind that.
No, I
I
mean,
don't mind that at all.
unfortunately, that's hockey, man.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't mind it because I hate the fact that your skill player can literally be run over by a guy without the puck. That bothers me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
but I accept it. I accept that this is hockey. If the league is not gonna punish it, then I say, okay, if that's the way you want to play, next time your guy
Yeah.
has his head down, I'm coming after you. Like that's just the
Yeah,
way it is.
bro,
But look at
playoffs
the.
are feast or famine. You
But
gotta
look at.
you gotta
Yeah.
learn that.
That's true. Look at the guys you're mentioning. They're core guys that are actually fighting back or initiating or instigating, whatever it is. Going back to you, Tommaso, do any of the core four Leafs do any of that? They never push back. Very
So
rare.
Matthews right now, like he leads the Leafs in hits. I know that doesn't say much, but I've
Doesn't
seen
say anything.
it doesn't, right? But at least it shows that a growth to his game, right? Like you see that more in his game now that he's fighting back. He's like giving people two hands. Like the other night, someone tried to trip him and he turned around and just threw him onto the ground. Like he's starting to realize, look, I'm 6'4",
Yeah,
200. Like he's not a little boy. I know they tell him, "Don't you dare drop your gloves." Even Giordano said, "We don't want him dropping the gloves," but stick up for yourself, right? Tavares, he will never do it. Like he'll just skate away. Marner, same thing. Nylander will never do it, but I see a little bit more, actually a lot more fight in his game in terms of one-on-one battles. Like the old Nylander would skate into the zone like a superstar, do his turnaround, and then cough up the puck. Now Nylander will dump it in and fight for that puck and win an actual battle. Like he will battle people instead of just doing his little dipsy doodle. Like Giancarlo will know this because one of his buddies does the same thing as Willie, is Kapanen. Kapanen does the exact same move. It's like a European move. You skate into the zone,
Take
you
the
do a
scenic
turn,
route. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then you just do, and then you just chip the puck in, but you're just giving away the puck every time. You used to drive me nuts because we had two of them, Nylander and Kapanen, and they used to do it over and over and over again. But now I'm seeing a little bit more from Nylander, and it's a good thing. But today's point, no, you'll never see. I don't see any of those four guys laying somebody out or like a Doug Gilmore type of look at
But
Dougie. Dougie was a mouse and
but that
he would
trickles
go against
down.
anyone.
But that
Yeah,
stuff trickles down. If your core guys
It
are not
does.
pushing
It
back,
does.
why the hell would I fucking go in there and fight
but
for you?
I don't think it's
Yeah.
them, bro. I think we talked about this so many
Yeah.
times. I think it's the philosophy, like you
Yeah, the
said, the
coach.
identity of this team, the coaching, the management, the style. It's right from the top. They said, we don't want you playing this game.
No.
And so that's what they're doing, right?
And if
Yeah,
they go, like you said,
true.
to Tampa, then you're gonna have a 180. There's gonna be a whole new change coming. Huge change.
I guess
Yeah.
it's
This is
We,
is
we,
getting. These guys are 26 years old now. They're not 20 years old. Enough of this. We gotta grow. We gotta listen. You're not gonna go from 0 to 100. They haven't taken a next step yet.
I know.
When do you say, guys, it's not working? It'll never work. It
yeah.
just won't work.
You really hope that at some point your guys look in the mirror and say, "Okay, guys, that's not happening again." Right? Like you gotta really take that step. And I know we've compared them before. The only comparable that I keep coming up with is the Washington Capitals. It's the only anywhere close to comparable to the Leafs that I can come up with that ended in a successful run, where the Capitals were owned by Pittsburgh every single year, right? Like it didn't matter. Pittsburgh could be missing Letang, whatever, limp into a series against Washington, and Washington
Yeah.
still found a way to lose those series. And
Yeah.
and then they finally won, and
Yeah.
then they won a cup, right?
But
So
didn't they make a semis once? Obviously, they had avoided Pittsburgh to make that semis. Didn't they lose to Tampa in the semis before they won the cup?
I don't know.
Pretty sure they
Giancarlo,
made a
remember?
semi.
I don't recall.
I
that
don't remember
happening.
that. I always remember them being.
I could have sworn they lost to Tampa in the semifinals. The year that Tampa lost to Chicago, I think. So they've won rounds here and there. The thing is, Mike, when Montreal beat them, Washington was all over them. It's not like Washington was getting all played out, muscled out, hit. Washington was all over them. Just your goalie stood on his head.
Yeah,
They
it was
couldn't
the.
believe they couldn't believe the way Washington could not score.
What are you talking
They
about
did everything but
against Montreal? You mean? Yeah,
yeah.
but that was that's not hockey.
No, but my point is no. I'm saying the Leafs
Yeah.
when they're playing, they're not dominating anybody. Come on, let's be honest. They dominate a period maybe, but they don't dominate a series. They just don't. I think that's the problem that I see. That there's good ways to lose and there's bad ways to lose, and they always find bad ways to lose. They just do.
Yeah,
With
you're
this
right,
talent,
Dave. 2010, 2011, they lost in the semis to Tampa.
What are you
They got
talking?
swept.
What are you talking about? I'm seeing lost in second round. What do you mean semis?
Oh,
Pretty sure.
conference semis.
Yeah, this is the second round. They never passed the second round. They won a couple rounds, Dave, but they never won more than one round. And then when they won, that was the year that they eventually busted through.
And that was the year they should have lost to
Yeah.
Columbus first round.
Yeah.
Conference semis is what, top 8?
Yeah, second round. Yeah, you beat the first round. It's 8 left. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that threw me off. Yeah, no, then they didn't. You're right.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's that's the only comparable that I would make to the Leafs where they eventually somehow, some way did it and busted through. And you really would hope that the leadership core of the Leafs would have said, guys, enough is enough. I do think they feel that way. I just don't know if it's in them, right? Like sometimes it's got to be in you. I don't think it comes down to that old thing like, are leaders made or are they born? And I think it's hard to like we've compared them to the San Jose Sharks before. Like they were very good skill wise. Joe Thornton, Danny Heatley, Dave's buddy Marlowe.
Yeah.
They never got it done either, right? So are you going to be the Capitals that figure it out, or are you going to be the San Jose Sharks and be the
The
be the
problem
disappointing team?
problem with them is it's usually a growth pattern, right? Like you get teams that come into the league, they rebuild, they get whole new faces, etc. Start getting a taste in the playoffs to get hammered, but at least you get some experience. And the next year you grow, right? You maybe
Right,
win around.
right.
Following year you win too. The problem with the Leafs is they missed that boat. They had a chance with Columbus and Montreal to win a series or two, get that nervousness out of their system, get some confidence, because now all they're facing in the first round is Tampa's and Boston. Like those, every team that the Leafs play go on to the Stanley Cup Finals, so they don't have they missed their boat on getting that exposure in terms
Yeah.
of confidence. Now they're going straight into Tampa, and the only thing that they got to look back on is losses. That's all they got. They got like failure after failure to look back on. And that's the problem with this team. They're not going to just magically show up and say, "You know what? Guys, we can do this." Oh, really? Based on what? What exactly have you done to make us believe that you're going to be able to beat
Yeah.
the Stanley Cup it doesn't make sense, guys. Like
Is
it's
it a
just
is it a foregone conclusion? Like they're gonna play Tampa, 100%?
oh yeah. If anything, Tampa might overcome the Leafs and get home ice. I think that is the thing that they're fighting for right now, and I think Tampa might do it. I think actually they have better point percentage wise because I think they played a couple fewer games. So I think Tampa's gonna like it all depends on them. They're like similar to Boston. Like they've seen it done it. They have the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Regular season doesn't mean much to them, so they're just gonna coast along and just do their thing. But if they bring the heat and they wanna get that home ice, I think they will.
I
Dave
think they're going
is
to go for home ice. I think that they realize it's still. Hey, listen. At the end of the day, I'd rather have home ice than not. I think that's the way
Or
they're going to look at it too, right? But the Leafs, like you said, they're fighting Tampa and Boston, and they're also fighting their own demons. So really, it's something that they're going to have to overcome themselves. But I don't see how they're going to. When you think about Boston and Tampa, they have the better D, they have the better goaltending. The two of the most important things that you need in the playoffs, and they don't match up in that area. So I don't know how they're going to win. The only way they're going to win is if suddenly Matthews and Marner go off, and they haven't yet. That's the only way, because when you're getting paid that kind of money, you're expecting like a Crosby and Malkin
yeah,
to lead you, which they have,
you're
right?
expecting those goals that
Exactly.
wouldn't typically happen. No, I get that. You would expect that to be the guys that you pay are going to be the ones to carry you, right? Yeah.
Even in the bottom six, you guys have brought up the bottom six, how important it is, and how Boston, they roll their four lines, and they're big and they're tough in it. So you would think that the bottom six of Tampa and Boston is even better than the Leafs. So what edge do you give this team? I don't give them any edge. Nothing.
The only edge would be, yeah, no, it's fair. If I was going to be optimistic and like look for a silver lining, it would be Tampa's played a lot of hockey. Can and I don't want to say the Leafs are due, but it's like if things go their way, I would love to see what ride they could get on. But then they are quick. Like I guess even when they were playing the Canadians and they were winning that series 3-1, like they were dominating those games, like dominating those games. And I remember thinking, this is finally the year. Like they actually look good and they're winning. And then it just goes to show you how sports is such a mental game because You lose that one game, and then you lose that next game, and all of a sudden you're like, what the hell? We're in game 7? You know, like they didn't even, it's almost like they got, I like these analogies. It's like you're in that boxing match, you're winning, you're winning, you're winning. All of a sudden this guy gets in one shot and you're rocked. And you're like, I can't, I can't feel my legs anymore, like that. And then all of a sudden you got to fight 3 more rounds against this guy and he's got new life, right? So that's the way I would look at it. But I'm trying to again be positive for the Leafs. Tampa's played a lot of hockey, so you would hope that if things went well, like Dave said, Matthew scores, Marner scores. If your big guns lead you, and Matt Murray stands on his head and becomes the Matt Murray that won cups for the Penguins, um, that you have to look that way, right? Like you can't if you're looking at like Tommaso said, if you're looking at your past, then you've already lost, right? But that's not the way you have to look at it. Like if you were coaching the Leafs, what would you say, right? Like you have to be guys. We took these guys to Game 7 last year, right? We were in this series, like we had them. We were in Game 6 overtime, right? Like they tied the game with like didn't they tie the game late in Game 6, Tampa?
Midway through third, thanks to Kerfoot.
Yeah.
Right,
Stupid penalty.
The 5-on-3, I think.
right. The Leafs were
Yeah.
winning though. Like it was like okay, like you have this third period. Yeah, I think it was 10 minutes left. You're right. Um, But yeah, like if
Yeah,
you're the coach, you try to look on the positive
Yeah.
side, right? Like you can't be like throwing it in, right? You gotta be. We're in this game, right? So, and it depends on what they add too. Like if the Leafs added the deadline, so
What are they gonna add, guys? Let's be honest. What can they really add?
I don't know. Maybe we talk about who they can add after we talk about the other addition that happened.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Let's talk about something else other than the Leafs.
All right,
Giancarlo's
for now.
ready to leave.
For now, nice. All right, Giancarlo, why don't you kick us off with the big trade that happened?
Which one? The Horvat one?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the only one, right? Like, that's the only one that happened. I think. I assume.
Well, didn't
For
Pittsburgh
now.
trade for Demko? I thought that happened too.
Maybe on your
Soon, though,
PlayStation.
Was I dreaming?
Nah, on your
Soon.
PlayStation, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the Horvat trade. So it was Horvat for a conditional first, Ratty, and what's that other guy's name? Useless there. Beauvillier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's kind of tough to evaluate because you just don't know what other offers were out there. By the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like teams are really going crazy offering for Horvat. And I mean, he's kind of a tricky player to trade for because he's going to want a lot of money. And he's not a top line center. Like he's more of a second line center. So you can't give this guy anything north of 8 million, and even 8 million is a lot. So he's a goal scorer. He's a great goal scorer, and he's one of the players I'd want taking the face-off in a must-win face-off. But I don't know. It's kind of tough. So when you kind of evaluate the trade, I mean, they give up that first-round pick, which you just never know with a first-round pick, right? And then Ratty's looking like a great prospect. I really do like him, but I mean, he's still so new. And then Beauvillier he's a third line energy guy. He's nothing special, nothing, it's not terrible, but he's never going to be a top 6 forward. I think he's proved that. So I mean, I don't know. I don't really know who won this trade. I think it's going to be one of those ones that, like, it wasn't a bad price for a rental if they don't re-sign him, but then they really need to make the playoffs if they don't re-sign him. So I don't know. It's kind of a tough one. There's a lot of different ways this can go too. Like, do they trade him at the deadline if they're not in a playoff position? You know, like it's even Vancouver. Like, what does Vancouver do with Beauvillier? Do they try and move him? They should.
They will.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
so-
I think that I guess I'll go next. It's the one thing that stuck out for me when I heard about this deal is that I said, thank God that it wasn't Boston that got Horvat because I would have been scared to death, like we said earlier. And then when I heard it was the Islanders, I was surprised because, like, I always try to play GM, right? And if I'm Vancouver and I have Horvat, who is the asset that is on an expiring contract, again, I've gone on record saying that first of all, I would not have let it get to this situation if I was the GM. I would have dealt with this situation prior, and if I wanted Horvat to be part of my team, he would have been locked up prior to this point in time, and if not, he would have been traded prior to this point in time. That's the way I would have handled it. But being things as they are now, I would say that the one thing that surprised me is that they wouldn't have shopped this deal to some of the contenders. And I know we talked a little bit about it on the chat, and maybe they were afraid of a guy getting hurt or whatever. But that just tells me because you should really have had conversations with GMs. You don't wait for the deadline to do your due diligence and to have your conversations. Like, what do you do as a GM, right? Like, if I have an asset like Horvat, um, I'm talking to other GMs, and I've already made the decision in my head that I'm going to move this asset. I'm talking to the contenders, and I'm playing them off against one another. You know what I mean? I'm talking to the Carolinas, I'm talking to the Bostons, and I'm saying, my player's available, give me your best shot, right? And I'm saying full well, I got other guys that are calling about this player, right? Guys that you're going to be competing with in the playoffs. So you better make sure that you're serious with your offers. So that was the one thing that surprised me with this deal. That
You
he
don't
went to
think
the
that
Islanders.
happened?
To take this offer, I'm surprised.
So
I'm
the
surprised that
only
one of those
knowledge that I
teams.
got from it was Boston was in on the deal, and New York Islanders had to raise the stakes by throwing in Ratty
Yeah, and
to
why wouldn't
secure the
Boston?
deal.
And why wouldn't Boston say, okay, like, you know what I mean? Boston's got more
Yeah.
to win. Like, Boston would have been, okay, I'll do whatever, right? Um, you know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. Like, that when I say play them off against and one another, but then all the reports that we heard was that they didn't shop the offer, right? Like
That's what I heard too.
Kevin Weeks
And
said they focused on the Islanders offer and that was it. They just wanted the
why
guy.
not start a bidding war? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. There wasn't really a major rush for them to make that trade.
Well, if again, rush or not, like the worry about him getting injured, that might have been the rush. But if you did your due diligence prior, you know what the
Mhm.
offers are going to be, right? That's what I mean.
Where are they going to? Any team that wanted him was going to be a team that's already locked in a playoff spot. They got a chance to get a mid first round pick, right? They wouldn't have got a mid first round pick if he sent him to Boston or
True,
whoever,
true.
Rangers,
So maybe that's what
right?
they liked.
Would have
Yeah,
been a high 20s. Now they're saying, hey, if these guys miss the playoffs, it could be a 13th overall pick.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
or if it's protected and then next year it's not
It
protected,
is
I believe.
protected.
No,
It
it
is
would.
protected, but next year isn't.
That's
Yes.
what I mean. Let's say it's protected this year. They would get next year's first,
Hmm.
unprotected, right? So
right. So
I
you're
don't know. I
saying they're
think that's
betting on them hitting the post, right? Yeah,
or even going out first round, which means it could be low, high teens, right, and not high 20s.
right.
So I don't know. That's my guess, but
Yeah, I
The other
guess.
thing I found interesting was they weren't allowing teams to talk to the agent
Hmm.
of Bo Horvat.
What does
They
that tell
weren't
you?
allowing. So the reasoning being is they don't want Bo Horvat to dictate what team he wants to go to. They want to control. They figured if they allowed that to happen, it would be less amount of teams. But
Right.
that makes no sense if they're only going to focus in on the Islanders deal and disregard mostly the rest of the NHL. Like that, like I don't know, like a lot of this just sounds really really
Rushed.
poorly played, you
Rushed.
know?
Yeah, they rushed it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Like if I'm a GM and I'm trying to accumulate as many assets as possible, I'm allowing them to do whatever the hell they want with Bo Horvat. Go talk to him. Go out, take him out for dinner.
Yeah.
Go extend him. I don't care. What do I care if you extend him or not? He's gone. Just I want as much back as possible. That's
Hmm.
the only thing that I should be thinking about. Like it doesn't matter if he goes to New York Islanders or like even a team like Anaheim apparently would have been interested if they were allowed to negotiate and sign him long term. Detroit is another one that if they were able to lock him up long term, they would be in on Bo Horvat. Why wouldn't they, right? Why wouldn't you want a good second line center that can put up 30 plus goals and who's relatively young? Why wouldn't you want that? Uh, I think Vancouver really shit the bed on this one. I don't know what this GM was thinking, or president, sorry, because we
So
know the GM is
one
whatever.
one theory that I was listening to on another podcast today, they were this is the worst case scenario for the Islanders is, the Islanders don't make the playoffs this year and they meet the condition of the first round pick, so they don't have to send them that first round pick. They don't re-sign Horvat, and things go even more south, and then all of a sudden Vancouver ends up with a top 5 pick next year.
Right.
And I mean, it can happen. I mean,
Yeah,
the
that's what
Islanders
Dave
are
was suggesting.
good.
Yeah.
Was he? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, I
It's
don't know.
not
That would be
it's
really
not
crazy.
it's not protected next year, right? So yeah.
Yeah, but if you're going to play that game, like you're betting on like really low odds, right?
Yeah, you are.
Wouldn't you rather get the extra assets now where you know for certain? Like, sure, like a situation like Florida, like what happened to them, it's like, like now Montreal might have two, top picks because of Florida's stupidity. But or I don't know, it could backfire. Like I don't know. I would have been taking the safer route and get as many assets as possible now. Like who knows what happens next year? Lou
Yeah.
might not even be there next year. If the Islanders don't make the playoffs this year, there's a very good chance Lou's not even there.
Yeah, he's gonna retire.
So
He's like, I'm done. Yeah, I tried.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see it.
I don't know. With regards to Beauvillier, I think you suggested that they would trade him, Giancarlo. I think that would be a great idea. Like he's another player. You look at him. He's a UFA in 2
They
years.
don't need him.
Well, he's a UFA in 2 years, right? So,
Mhm.
including this year. So he's only got one more year after this year, and yeah, maybe you trade that guy at the deadline or whatever. Like he's a 25-year-old player. He's not a horrible player. I think he's a good middle lineup player. I would say bottom six player. Maybe can fill in your top six, but I would not consider it a permanent role. He's done well in the playoffs. He's played in a structured team with the Islanders, and he's done well and thrived. So I would consider trading this guy for the right return. I mean, he's making 4.15 million already. He's going to want more money. I don't think he's going to be worth that money. So yeah, man, you got to make some decisions. Like, and I hate it because I think every time I hear myself, it's like, oh, just trade him, just trade him, just trade him. But the reality is, you do have to make those decisions on players. You cannot overpay for a player unless you know what I mean? Like in the bottom six of
Mhm.
your lineup, you cannot overpay a player like this because it's going to be a problem for you. You're going to end up having issues. So this
But
is
they
what the
do
salary cap
though.
is, right?
They have like a
JT Miller.
Mikheyev. They got him now. They got Besner. They got a lot of overpriced wingers. A lot.
I think they're gonna get rid of Besser. I think he's gonna go probably not now, maybe off season, but I think they're gonna start try to clean up that mess.
But so,
it all started with Miller, man. That's
but is
the
that,
one that makes no
but
sense.
but Dave, do you think that Vancouver is going to rebuild or no?
No, they said they're not.
But I saw rumors of Demko being shopped from Friedman.
That's what it is, a rumor. That's all.
Yeah,
Why
but
would you
Friedman.
trade? Well, but why would you trade Demko if you're retooling? It makes no sense.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't
see that.
I don't
The
know
only
if
way
they're
that would happen
retooling
is
or
if
rebuilding. Friedman, I don't think Friedman would have just thrown the name out there. I think that he's not like
why
a
not?
guy
They
like
all
Eklund.
do.
No, Eklund does that. The phony guys do
A
that.
lot of guys just throw names. 95% of the time, these guys don't get traded. All these names they throw out there. But at the end of the day, Mike, if they're saying we're retooling, why would you trade a top 10 goalie in the league?
Did they
If
say
you're
that? Did they
rebuilding,
say they
I
were
agree.
retooling, or I missed it? Did they actually
I
say
heard
that?
they're retooling. I don't know if it was
I didn't hear
Alvin and the
that.
Chipmunks or if it was
No.
Rutherford. One of them said they're retooling. They're not rebuilding.
Okay.
All I heard was him saying, "I thought we were tanking."
Yeah,
I don't remember anything
I
else
don't
after
remember
that.
hearing anything. Yeah, so I mean, I guess.
I
Well,
don't remember him
but
clarifying.
tanking for 1 year doesn't mean you're rebuilding. It means that year's a lost year, and this year is a lost year for them.
That's
I
fair.
think it's major surgery, like he said, and I think major surgery equates to like he's got to bring it down. He's got to identify his core, which is Tarasenko,
Canadians,
Ter-
Peterson.
Tarasenko.
Miller,
What do you mean Tarasenko?
not Tarasenko, Kuzmenko,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Kuzmenko,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Kuzmenko, Patterson, Miller, and Hughes.
Yep.
That's their four. Everyone
horrible.
else can go.
But we talked about this in the fall before the season started. They had their chance to rebuild and they didn't do it. So how are you going to
Yeah.
rebuild now? You got the Aukman Larson contract. You're stuck with that. You're stuck with JT Miller. You can't be rebuilding with those guys. There's no way. I
Yeah.
would be shocked. I would be shocked. I don't see it because Quinn Hughes is a solid player.
Why would you have given?
Demko's a solid goalie. How do you rebuild? How do you rebuild that team? You can't.
Why would you give JT Miller the money? Man, it's like every episode we knock JT Miller.
I
But
know,
why?
right?
But why would you? Why
It
would
just
you
made
pay
no sense.
JT Miller before you paid Horvat? Like I don't.
But that's
Yeah.
they were. It was supposed to be the other way around, and those contracts stopped. So they went right to JT Miller after, which was just ridiculous. But it's Vancouver, guys. Why are we surprised?
Yeah, like we keep going back to this team, and there's no explanation to what they did. Like the JT Miller signing, like makes no sense. Like that's why he's full of shit when he said, "I thought we were tanking." No, you weren't, you dumbass. Because if you were tanking, why would you sign JT Miller to an extension? No one in their right mind would sign a guy like him, who's aging, to a monster contract. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
You moved that guy
rushed
for
it too.
assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you do that?
He had
They
all
could-
year.
They could have traded him for nice assets because he wasn't getting paid a lot. He still had another year on his term. They could have got a boatload for JT Miller.
He was
They're
only like
so
a what,
stupid.
5 million or something, or 5
Yeah.
point something. Yeah, they.
Oh my god.
I don't understand that logic.
And we know who wanted him was Lou. Lou was willing to trade for him, and then
Yeah.
There would
was
have
it
been a
that word
dozen
got
teams.
out? I think word got out that they were talking, and then he nixed the deal.
Even the Rangers wanted him too.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Think about it. If they did this properly in the offseason, they traded JT Miller and Horvat in the offseason. Do you imagine what they could have got for those two
Yeah.
at the draft? And can you imagine
Yeah,
then they
but
start off the year right? Like
I think you
truly
would've kept-
tanking.
That's but I think they were trying to sign. They were going to sign Horvat. If they were trading Miller, they were keeping Horvat, but just fell through.
Yeah. And even like this Connor Garland guy, like I'm looking at their roster. I don't know. whatever.
Yeah, another winger.
I was reading that they're gonna consider buying him out in the summer. I was reading an article on that,
Oof.
and I think that they'll
You're
buy him out.
insane.
He's not a bad player,
You
but
cannot buy a player out. He's got 4 years left on his deal. You're gonna be paying this
I
guy
don't
for
know what
8
this
years?
team-
Get
yeah.
out of here.
I don't
That's
know
the
what
guy
this team is
Dubas
doing.
wants.
Crazy. Crazy.
Back to that JT Miller thing being on a 1-year contract at 5-something million. Can you imagine they ate 50% of that and somebody was trading for JT Miller at 2.5 million? It's just crazy. I don't know what they were thinking.
Whatever. I don't even want to talk about Vancouver anymore. Why do we have to talk? So, I mean, we've talked about Vancouver way too much in this the last like 3 weeks. We've talked about Vancouver with regard to
Yeah.
their GM and
They're
their
the
coach.
most interesting team right now. Just so stupid they
They
are.
seem to be doing all
Yeah.
the moves. Yeah, so I guess we have to say it. But I mean, but what do we think of the Islanders though with this trade?
That was a huge upgrade because that was exactly what they needed. I mean, they needed a guy that can score. That team cannot score, and they just lost Wallstrom to a season-ending injury, right?
right. Yeah, it's confirmed he's done for the year. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Ratty wasn't producing in the games that he did play for them. So I mean, like they needed a goal scorer, and Horvat's gonna fit in perfectly.
Now he looks like an
so
Islander, doesn't he?
he's
Like
playing.
I saw
Oh, yeah.
they pressed the jersey number 14 they gave him. He looks like I'm like this guy was made to wear an Islander shirt. Like it was match made in heaven. That's what it looked like to me.
What's
Yeah.
curious to see is if they're gonna put Barzell on his wing. Like I didn't think they'd do that. I thought they'd roll the 1-2 centers,
Mm.
but I heard rumors about like them trying to put them together for a little bit just to try. I don't know. Like I think that's kind of crazy in one way because now you're putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
But then another way, you're finally giving Barzell someone who can put the puck in the net. So
No, you're right. I'm looking at their lineup right now. Their latest updated lineup, and Barzell's on their wing.
yeah,
On
so
Horvat's
I don't
wing,
know.
so.
We'll see. We'll see. Like I'm sure it's fluid, right? Like they can switch as they go. The latest also is Tarasenko to the Islanders
Oh,
is
baby.
is coming very close.
How many years
So
have I
I don't
been
know.
talking about Tarasenko to the Islanders? I
You
want to know.
have, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they
I
need
think
though. They need an
they
extra
do.
piece. That like I'm looking at their roster. Like I don't mind them making a trade for Horvat. Like hey, you want to take your shot at the cup? Go for it. You got a goalie that you think is good enough. He's in his prime. He's only got 2 years left on his deal before he becomes a UFA. So if you're gonna take your shot, I mean, sure, but make sure that you take a legit swing. Like you
Like
can't
a
just
real one, yeah.
yeah, like you don't just throw assets away and then Tyler Toffoli becomes on your top line. Get out of here, right? Like you're not going to win a cup
Yeah.
like this. So getting a Bo Horvat, great. Now if you can add a Tarasenko to this team, and then I'm looking at the lineup, you got Barzal, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, Horvat, Tarasenko. Now you're talking, right? Like you got
Hmm.
five good forwards. I would say even better than good forwards in some cases. And your sixth best forward is probably a guy like Palmieri, I guess.
Hmm.
Right, which isn't bad. Like he's a
He's a great top nine.
two-way forward, right? Like he's not a top six guy, but if you have five good forwards, you can spot that sixth guy, right? But that's why I say they need one more piece
But the
that
two
can
guys you
finish.
mentioned, Mike, they're Horvat and especially Tarasenko, they're both kind of injury prone too. Like their bodies, especially Tarasenko, is taking a beating.
He's
Yeah.
So I
Tarasenko
think they
He's
had
tried to
injuries.
trade him
also
last year.
he's also in the All-Star game right now, and he's also one of
Yeah,
the best point per game players
but
in the playoffs.
he's not gonna
So
get hit
I
in
don't
the All
know.
Star game.
Yeah,
No, but I'm saying like he's not in the All-Star game for no reason, right? He's
But
done
no one's saying he
fine this
doesn't
year.
have skill. He has skill, but let's be
That
fair. He's also
Tarasenko
been
you guys
injury
are talking
prone.
about?
Yeah.
Tarasenko, yeah, he's a good that guy produces in the playoffs, man. Like I would have
How
Tarasenko
old is
on
he
my team.
now?
Tarasenko is 31.
Okay, still
Yeah.
young.
Well, young enough.
Youngish.
Young enough. Yeah.
Youngish.
Like if you're
Youngish.
gonna take your run, and you got 2 years to do it, then
So
that's
he's not
fine.
UFA after this year?
He is. He
He
is.
is.
He
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
That's
St. Louis, they're trading everyone. They're done. O'Reilly's gone. I don't know who's gonna get him, but that's gonna be an interesting player.
are you where do you hear that they're done? That they're actually gonna sell?
Yep. O'Reilly's on the block. I think they officially said he's on the block. I mean,
Wow.
everyone already. That's not a secret, right? Everyone knows they're gonna deal him. They're
Yeah.
not gonna sign him.
I heard even like a guy like Achari was getting interest from people. I know he's like a bottom six
Oh,
player, but
I think anybody in the league would want a Chari on their team.
yeah, like those are the
I
guys
would
that you're
love him
gonna add, right? Like he's an inexpensive player. He's gonna fit into your bottom six. He's gonna be a
For
playoff
sure.
guy, like a
to play
warrior.
any
Yeah.
position.
But if you're St. Louis's GM, you're basically listening to anyone other than the two guys. What's his name? Kyrou and
Thomas.
Yeah, Robert Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Anyone other than those two, go ahead. Give me your best offer.
Yeah. And I think they
Like
didn't.
even the defensemen, why not? Like what are you worried about? If you can get like a lot for their what's his name? The right hand
Pareko.
Pareko.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yep.
Do it.
Well, I don't think they're going to be able to move that contract, but
Six
How
and
much
a
does he
Really?
make?
Six-
Carlo
that
Ford
bad?
5? Does he make 5?
6.5.
yeah, he makes
Six.
he makes 6.5 in a couple
Wow.
more years, right? Or like 8 years or
Until
something like that.
until 2030.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah,
moving
good luck.
him. He's not
Good
going
luck.
anywhere. He's
Do you
overrated too.
do you remember a time when everyone was talking about trading Pareko for one of the Leafs' top guys, and
Nylander.
St. Louis was saying no because
Yeah.
Pareko was better? Like, see how crazy how life turns, huh?
I mean, hey, he's one of the better defensive defensemen in the league. He's huge. Is he like 6'7", 6'6" or something? Like he's a monster.
He's a big boy.
6'6".
But he's got to already be 30 now. Like he's been in the league for a while, and
29. Yep.
yeah, that's a big contract for another 8 years for the guy like that who takes a beating every night blocking shots, and I don't know. I don't think they're gonna be able to move him.
It's not the
How about
worst
Justin
contract.
Falk?
It's not the worst.
Whatever happened to
contract, but
Justin Falk?
He's there. He's got a
Yeah, he's there.
no trade clause.
Well, I'm sure he'll be happy to waive it to a playoff team.
But it says here
I don't know, man.
starting 2025. No trade clause starting 2025, so he can still be
Okay,
traded.
so they can trade him now.
Yeah.
What's his contract like?
6.5.
How many more years? Expiring soon?
Until 2027.
Oof.
So he's got
I don't
another
think you could.
4
Yeah,
years.
you're
I
not
don't see
moving
him.
him either. I don't.
5.
It's O'Reilly and Tarasenko. Those are the two guys that are going to get players back for.
Yeah, this to me looks like a plan that St. Louis had that just didn't come to fruition because they've got all their defense locked up. Like their defense is literally locked up. Like Leddy, Pareko, Krug, and Falk, if you consider that a top 4, those guys are locked
Let-
up until 2026 at least.
So you guys all agree Tarasenko to the Isles probably makes the most sense.
I think so.
Well,
Sure.
but what are the
Carolina
Islanders
three
going to
works.
trade for him though? Because they just moved their first round pick.
Well,
They're very slim on prospects. I mean, they got Simon Holmstrom. What are they moving to get Tarasenko? Because I feel like Tarasenko's at minimum bringing in a first round pick. The guy's a legit top
Yeah.
6
Really?
winger. You don't
Like,
think he brings in a first round pick at a minimum?
Okay, so let's look at what we just got for Horvat, right? And Horvat is significantly better than Tarasenko. Wouldn't you agree?
why?
I don't
Why is he
know about
significantly better? I don't know if he's
I
significantly
think
better.
the center part of Horvat is nice, but I think as a more reliable goal scorer, I'm taking Tarasenko. Even though Horvat's a good goal scorer, I mean Tarasenko's almost been a point per game
Yeah.
player his
He's
entire
been
career.
yeah. 82
I think
points
Giancarlo
last
brought
year.
up the best part is that what do the Isles have to offer now? So the
Next
way
year's
I'm
first
looking
round
at it,
pick?
well, but it might
Oh
not be
man,
available.
yeah, it might get pushed. I mean, if they were to, I don't know how the rules work, but if they were to
Yeah.
offer next year's and then the condition
I
happens,
I
does it
think
get bumped?
I'm
They'd
gonna
have to
guess if
they'd have to put another condition to say if it was
Yeah,
not
another
this year.
clause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like the Montreal, Calgary, Florida one.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one
maybe.
that needed a lawyer to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the moon and the sun align, and yeah, I remember that one.
I
Exactly.
think if the Rangers don't get Kane, they'll give up a first for Tarasenko. They
Oh
need
yeah,
goals
for
him.
sure.
The Rangers.
So maybe
Yeah.
Don't forget Carolina with Pacioretty gone now. They have $7 million that they need a winger, and they need a scoring winger. So
Well, even
don't
thing,
count them out.
They'll be
even
looking at-
Vegas has money to spend now.
Yeah, with Stone.
So,
Yeah, with Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing about the Rangers, that what they have that no one else does, they have 2 first round picks. Like
well,
they have 2 first
Oh
round picks.
yeah,
offered.
yeah. From they have Dallas's, right?
Yeah, so that
Unbelievable.
they have both
Mm.
bullets in the barrel to use. They can use both, or they could just use one.
Oh, that's
So
smart.
either way, I think they're adding.
Is that the
Yeah,
is that
oh,
the
yeah,
pick they
no,
got
without a
for the defenseman?
Yeah, Niels Lundqvist.
Is
Yeah.
it? Is that his name? Okay, yeah.
is that how you say it?
Something like
Yeah.
that. Nils.
Yeah, the guy. I remember the guy they traded at the beginning of the year. Yeah. Oh wow, that's a great call out, Tommaso, because that's
Well, and they also
definitely
have
something they
like
can use.
4 unpanned out first round prospects that
Wow. Yeah.
or whatever. I mean, he's right though. Like I think the Rangers, it's an open market. Like whatever player the Rangers want, nobody can outbid the Rangers. The
No.
Rangers can go all in and get whatever they want.
Yeah. I'm sticking with the Rangers. I'm gonna say O'Reilly to Vegas because they have money to spend now.
Holy shit.
They need a center too, right? Doesn't Chandler Stevenson their first line center? I mean, I like him, but he's not a first line center. Or no, they got Eichel.
Well, you mean with Eichel injured? Like, is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
I forgot about that. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, they're okay on the in center, but I mean O'Reilly wouldn't hurt them. But looking at their lineup, they need a winger a lot more than a center.
It's always more
gonna be a
fun
ton
when
of
they're
wingers
expiring
available.
contracts, eh? Like there's going to be a lot of movement this year with these expiring contracts. Like those are the
I
ones
think
that
so.
the deadline's going to be pretty good because every year when we watch, I know it's sometimes disappointing, but looking at these, like there's so many contracts that are expiring, you would think that teams would try to, other than Dubas, of course, would try to reap the benefits of that, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna ask you guys, where's Larkin going? Because it doesn't look like Detroit's gonna sign him. Like, are they gonna let him walk or are they gonna
There's
trade him?
another one.
They gotta
No.
trade him, guys.
They're
They
gonna
can't let
trade
him
him.
walk. So who
Yeah,
needs
they
a
have
center
to.
badly? Who is it?
Who
Is
doesn't?
Boston.
no, but
Yeah.
there's got to be a team
I
that.
heard a rumor Boston was after Larkin.
Yeah, it's true. Boston is one of the teams.
Yeah. Well, Boston missed out
Even
on Horvat.
Colorado?
Colorado,
Maybe?
that's an
I think
intriguing
Colorado's
one.
gonna go hard on a center. I mean, I don't know if they want to Larkin.
I don't know,
but
but the problem with Colorado, they have no, like their prospects are very thin, and I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
they got good young players. If they could move one of those, like for example, one of the defense. If
Yeah.
they can move one of their
They-
defense, who's
They have
Gerrard.
prospects
excellent.
too.
Gerrard is the guy
Yeah,
that's got to move.
Gerard is a good one. Isn't Byram? Or is it Byron too?
Hiram, yeah.
Yeah, Bo and
Yeah,
Byram.
they got two
Yeah,
guys
he's
that
he's
they
on
can move
a
out.
cheaper contract, so they're probably going to keep Byram. If I was Colorado, I would be keeping that. But yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
Man, that's going to be an interesting one.
you know what? If I
Yzerman's
was
not stupid.
if I
He
was
won't let him go for
Boston, I'd be all in for. I didn't even realize like when Dave said Ryan O'Reilly, that's the guy I would be targeting if I'm Boston.
For Boston.
nothing.
He
No,
looks like a Bruin,
no,
doesn't
He
he?
does.
I don't know.
He looks like a
no,
Bruin.
I don't think they want a center. They're another one that wouldn't mind another winger with like guys
no.
like
They
Kane
need
available.
They
another
just wanted
center
Horvat.
because no, but what I'm saying is
Yeah.
they're gonna lose Bergeron and Krejci after this year, so they're gonna have 0 centers after this year, and they're gonna need someone for the future with Pasta, right? You can't you gotta entice Pasta to stay. You gotta be like, okay, we got a center for you, and I think that's why they were desperately going after Horvat. Going after Larkin is perfect because now you can tell Pasta, look, I got your guy for the next 8 years. So I could see that for sure.
Hey, you know what? As a Hab fan, I'm thrilled if they get Dylan Larkin on their team. That's all I
I'm
know.
good with that. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
that guy's a big wimp.
He
So
doesn't look like a Bruin.
no, he's a
But-
wimp.
No, he doesn't.
So that's what I'm just talking about. On the Bruins are going in for their last dance this year. I know what you're saying, Tommaso, that they need to fill the hole of the centerman. And I'm not looking that far ahead if I'm Boston because Bergeron's gonna leave. So I'm gonna be like, okay, this is gonna be my all-in year, and if getting an O'Reilly, even if it's a rental, that's what I'm gonna do. Like I would not worry about re-signing O'Reilly.
Yeah.
I would rather, let's put it this way. I'm not saying I'd rather have O'Reilly over Horvat, but if I can get O'Reilly for less than I would have offered for Horvat, then I would be very, very happy with that. You know what I mean? For this 1 year. That's the way I would look at it. It's a rental.
Don't forget too, Timo Meyer is available right now, and so is Jonathan Toews.
Timo Meyer is going to New Jersey. I think that's like I think that's going
it
to be a done
fits,
deal.
right, Tommaso? Doesn't that
Yeah.
make sense?
At another situation, like New Jersey just has way more to offer the people that are going to be fighting New Jersey, right? Like they got prospects, they got picks. Like who's going to compete with them? The Leafs? Come on.
Well,
Leafs
the
aren't going to
Rangers,
get them.
the Rangers could start a bidding war, but I mean,
I have no idea where the Leafs fit in all this. Like, do they?
Bargain basement rentals. That's it.
yeah,
That's
they're
what
not going
they're
to be able
getting.
to. They're not going to be able to compete with the big
They're
fish.
gonna get like a Nick Bonino and like some nobody defenseman.
Well, I heard they
some,
want Ivan Barbashev from
Yeah.
St. Louis. That's what I was reading.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
Isn't he a
then I heard-
center?
He's a center, and he's a good player. He's
it's
a
a
nice, tough guy. But,
nasty player. Yeah.
yeah, but I think he can play the wing or center. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to be a good fit for the Leafs because they're going to tell him not to hit anybody. So what's the point?
That's true. We don't need
Well,
that
like
here.
he's a physical presence.
Oh yes,
Marcus
yes.
is-
Oh
yeah.
yes. He hits.
Oh
They
yeah,
want a
he's
first
nasty.
rounder. They think they might get a first for him, so I don't know.
I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest
This is
thing
up
I've
a
ever
first
seen.
round. Like, come on.
Is he a rental or is
Yes,
he
he's
No,
got.
he's not-
This is his
he's
last
not-
year. This is his
Is
last
it?
year. Yep.
Even worse.
He's
okay,
a
so
he's a
it's
big time hitter.
reported. Take it with a grain of salt that the Leafs are not going to trade their first round pick for a rental. So take
No.
that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
won't
but
do
how
it.
much?
They
How much
refuse.
is he gonna ask for? I mean, he's not really a guy that's gonna ask for big money, right? Like I
He's
think
The
making
Leafs are talking about.
2 1/4.
They have no
right
money.
now.
two and a quarter. So I mean,
Oh,
what's
give
he
him
getting in
Kerfoot's
the open
money.
market? 4 or 5? Like,
I don't
if the
think
Leafs
he's.
really wanted to resign him,
$5
I
million
think
for a
they-
third line player? Come on, you kidding?
I agree with Dave here. I would be very careful
Yeah, I
about
said 3 or
opening
4,
a-
not 5.
Yeah.
Or
They're
did I
no,
say
no.
4 or
5?
5.
Can't
Sorry.
afford it.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. Like that's the danger. Like it's not that the player is not worth it. It's just that it comes down to if you want to win the cup, you're like, can I win the cup with this player? Right? That's what you really
Yeah.
have to ask yourself, right? And you know, based on your current structure and what you're paying your players and what your youth looks like and when you're gonna have to pay those players, like you really have to factor that in. So
Yeah. What about Giancarlo? What about your boys, the Pens? what do you project them to do, and what do you think they're like?
There's one of
what
two
are they getting?
players that are coming, and I can guarantee that these are their main targets. And you can laugh at me if you want, but it's gonna either be Demko or Gibson. There's absolutely no way that they don't go after one of them.
Oh my
They
God!
need a goalie.
I almost choked on my ginger ale. You got to be kidding me.
Okay,
No, because Vancouver they have the relationship with Alvin and Rutherford, and they can get the deal done. I believe that they can get a deal done for Demko. At worst case scenario, Gibson's a Pittsburgh boy, and he's another one. They have a fantastic relationship with Anaheim. I think that they like average at least one trade a year with Anaheim. So they've already announced that they want a veteran goalie. Jari's a UFA after this year, and
How are you gonna fit these guys though?
well, just Jari's gonna be the one to move because he's a UFA this year, and he's a good goalie. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of his, but I mean, I think he's still a top 15 at a minimum in the league.
Stinks. He stinks.
His numbers don't lie. He puts up decent numbers, but he's very injury prone, and we already dealt with that with Matt Murray, and they can't afford to have this risk with Jari because 2 years ago he couldn't save a beach ball against the Islanders. Last year he was hurt and only played in Game 7. It's just the risk isn't there for Pittsburgh anymore. They can't play risk games anymore. They need to be all in for the next 2 to 3 years while Crosby and Malkin are in their mid 30s. And a guy like Demko or Gibson coming in makes a huge difference in net. They don't have to worry about it anymore. And what
how much does Jari make right now?
3.5.
I think he's at 3.5.
Yeah, this is his last year.
So Gibson's making 6.4.
Yeah.
And he's got 1, 2,
Got a few
3,
years.
4 more years to go.
That's perfect. That's exactly what they need. Is somebody like that who's on that kind of. What do you think Jari's gonna ask for at the end of the season? He's gonna ask for anything north of 6.
No.
I mean, he's a capable starting goalie. That's the going rate. It's not going to be impossible for him to say, "Hey, I want $6 million." And what's Pittsburgh going to do? Give him $6 million, and then he's going to get hurt, and then they're screwed. And just a waste of Crosby's last couple of years here. So a guy like Gibson comes in, Gibson's been very good in the past. He's a perfect fit for them. He's at the 6.5 mark. So they trade somebody like Jari, and then they trade somebody like Kapanen. They'll probably have to give up a first-round pick. There's a couple prospects they can move as well, and they get it done because they have no choice. It's now or never for them, and I don't know. I think I would obviously prefer Demko. Demko is going to be more expensive, though. I think.
No, he's not. He's $5 million. What are you talking about?
No, more
He means
expensive
the
in a
trade
trade.
wise.
Oh, I see.
Trade,
Okay.
Yeah,
trade
yeah.
wise.
Right.
Yeah, because I think Demko is
I understand.
more valuable than a Gibson at this point. But
So the
I
real
don't know.
question, Giancarlo, is you think that Gibson's going to be able to reclaim what he's had in the past? Because the last time he's had a good season was 2017, right? So the
played on
926
some really
save
bad Anaheim
percentage.
teams, so.
Well, that's what I mean. It's been a long time since he's
mattered
been at
for
an
him.
elite level. So that's what you believe, that he's able to, once you put him on a good team, he'll be able to rebound. Like that's
I
your
mean,
thinking.
I guess it could be a little bit hopeful thinking as well, but it's kind of just one of those things where there's not that many other options at the moment. So it's like I said, I would love Demko. Demko is a home run.
Demko for
but
sure.
Okay,
I
but
don't
if
know
you're
what
gonna,
it's gonna cost to get him. I
Well-
don't even know if Pittsburgh can. They probably could, but can another team outbid them? Hell yeah. So
yeah.
is
I'll
a
give you
team gonna
another
outbid
option.
Gibson? Who?
The kid for Arizona, Verlinkama.
No, I don't
I
want that.
would take him over Gibson
No.
in a heartbeat.
No. Stay very far away from that guy.
Go take a look at his save percentage.
Yeah,
And,
no, I know
and
he's
see
not.
what he does on a
but-
really bad Arizona team.
I know he's not terrible. I don't mind him at all. It's just I don't want risks. I need something a little bit more guaranteed. And I know that Gibson hasn't been good for the last couple of years, but I mean the team has also just been atrocious in front of him. And I don't know. He still shows flashes of like being a great goalie, but when you literally have no defense and the teams can pile up 5-6 goals on you. You can only blame the goalie so much. So I don't know. I feel a little more safe with Gibson than the guy in Arizona.
What's
I
his
don't know.
name?
I
Giancarlo, what's
actually
his
think
name?
the guy in Arizona.
Yeah.
His name's the V Man. He likes the V.
V something. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah,
Verlingam?
he's trying to make me say it. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get an intro to the podcast.
Vimelka. That's what it is.
Vagina.
Vimelka.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I've actually heard that Arizona wants a first for that guy, so I don't know. I think the price for him might be a little bit too high too. And
They have like 6 second rounders. They need some firsts, right?
well, and I don't know if
6.
you're gonna give up a first, go all in on Demko, which is
Jesus.
actually a top 10
Guys,
goalie.
Gotta get off this Demko thing.
Hey, I'm not getting up nothing until he's a Penguin.
I don't see it.
Until trade deadline day is over or another team's acquired Demko, I am all in for Demko. Because there's no other option besides Gibson for me. And that's Pittsburgh's biggest hole right now is a goalie. They cannot rely on Jari, and he's a UFA. And you know what? He's got trade value. I mean, if they trade him, a team re-signs him. Like, it's not like they're trading for garbage, right? You're still trading for a starting goalie.
It's hard to argue your thought process because everything you said is true. I think that the most likely would be Gibson. Based on the trade history, like you said, between these two teams, if they constantly trade with each other, this contract, Anaheim would probably want to get rid of it, so it's win-win, right?
Well, and if Anaheim were to acquire Jari, then I mean they're not shit out of luck next year when it comes to a goalie, and they got some good goalie prospects.
But they don't have to
actually.
sign him, right? Like my point is that
they don't. But if they do, I
Yeah.
mean, they can give him a bridge or sign him short term. But if they don't, they're not screwed because they have some really good goalie prospects on the rise. So
right, which is again playing into the fact that they may not want to pay Gibson for another 5 years, right?
I totally agree. Yeah, if they can move him and they have a fitter, I think they would love to do it. So I can see Gibson being a Penguin. Another option is Reimer, which again, I don't want somebody who's unreliable like that, like a James Reimer.
Jeez, man, you go from a Ferrari to like a key car.
God. Yeah.
Hey, the market for goalies isn't like the market for center and wingers.
No, I like the Gibson one, but then you go all the way to Reimer. It's like, holy smokes.
I'm just trying to think of who's available, right?
How about you can have Murray back?
I would take him.
You can have Murray back, and we'll just play Justin Hall.
Yeah, no, I would take him in a heartbeat, but I don't think Pittsburgh will take him. And to be honest, that goes against my whole logic of not wanting a risky goalie who's going to be hurt. So no, we can't take Murray. I'll take that Samsonov guy though. He's pretty good.
That's not going to happen.
1.5 million? Happily take him. Guys want Jari?
No. Leafs like hit a home run with Samsonov. So they're not trading
what he for next year. We got to see how much he wants next year now.
Do you guys have any other goalies that are like in your mind that are available other than the ones that I've named?
Jake Allen?
We all know he's not.
You want upgrades, right? You don't want.
You asked the question. I'm giving you the answer.
No, but like give some serious names here. Jake Allen.
What's wrong with Jake Allen? He won a Stanley Cup with St. Louis. What's the problem?
Yeah, fantastic. He just re-signed with. You sound like me, man.
Hey, I'm trying to sell him. What can I say? I don't need this guy.
No, I think the Gibson one makes the most sense. It's a good call, but even Jonathan Quick would have been available. The problem is LA's in a playoff spot.
I think that they would move Jonathan Quick though in a heartbeat because they're not even using him.
I don't know how they're splitting the time there.
Why would they trade him away though?
Don't they use their other goalie more than Quick?
I think they do.
Yeah, but you need that. You need that insulation.
You need the backup.
Yeah.
Well,
Phoenix Copley, what a joke. How's this guy starting?
But you need two goalies. That's the thing, Giancarlo. That's the problem. You're so okay. Let's say that.
Well, hold on. Back to that. I can argue DeSmith is a very, very, very capable number two. Very capable number two.
All right, that was going to be my question then. I said if you feel comfortable with this guy, or is the spicy pork guy still there, or is he gone now?
No, he's a Ranger. He's playing for the AHL team in the Rangers. The spicy pork was so good in New York that he had to sign.
He stayed there. Yeah.
What a joke.